Hello gamers, welcome to my third devlog about the game Exoid. It's been a long time since I uploaded the last video on this channel. I have made a lot of progress in these months, so let's dive into it. Straight after uploading the last devlog, I started inventing an inventory system. It has a hotbar which is displayed the entire time, except for another UI is shown. If you open your inventory by pressing the E button, the inventory UI will show. The main inventory layout is split into two windows, one of which displays the current amount of the inventory using a progress bar and also displays the current amount as a number and the maximum amount as a number. In the right window there is the actual inventory displayed with slots. Every item in the inventory has a weight of 1. Which means you can stack up to 40 items of an item on a slot, because 40 is the maximum amount the player can carry. The maximum amount will later be probably extended by exploring and researching, but this is a feature that will be dealt with in another video. At that point I implemented 4 main functionalities to work with the inventory. Later in this video I will add even more features to make the inventory as user-friendly as possible. You can pick up an entire stack, move it around with your cursor and place it again with left click. If you press right click on a stack, half of the stack size will be picked up. You can also right click while dragging an item to place only one item down. If you click on an empty space outside of the inventory while dragging, the item will be dropped instead. There's also the possibility to drag and drop items. This seems at first to be the same as pick up and place, but if you drag and drop an item into a slot that is used by another item, the stacks will be swapped. Of course, you also can drop items when dragging them to an empty space outside of the inventory. If you want to spread a stack over multiple slots, you can use the spread functionality. If you want to spread, you can simply pick up an item, hold left click while hovering over the slots, and the stacks will be evenly spread over the slots. If there is a not spreadable amount, the rest will be kept in drag mode. To sort your inventory, you can use the sort button. This button is useful to sort your inventory, but the main reason why I added it is because the button reloads the entire UI from the inventory, so you can fix your inventory in case any weird UI bugs have occurred. So that was the inventory so far. After finishing the inventory and fixing any known bug, I did something that is not that common for indie game developers, but is extremely helpful to make a user-friendly game. I did a playtest with a friend of mine. In a playtest, I give a random person who wasn't involved in developing the game simple tasks to solve. For example, go find a tree and cut it, or reorder your inventory in a specific way. While the test user played, I silently sat there and watched him doing his thing. While he played, I took some notes on how he was doing, what functionality he was using, which one was hard to find and which one was misused. At the end of the test, I asked the user for some feedback, what he liked and what I could possibly add or change. This helped me to be able to make quality of life changes in the game in a pretty early state. Therefore, I tilted the angle of the camera by around 15 degrees, because the user told me that it felt weird. Also, I added a hitbox for the selected object to the production. In the game, I used gizmos to do this, but gizmos are only a debugging tool, so it is not possible to use them in a production build. So I changed the gizmos to a 3D object that doesn't have a hitbox and is rendered above the other objects. Besides doing that, I fixed a couple of bugs that occurred during the playtest and remade some of the characters in the Exoid font. After finishing that, I went into paint.net and started designing a lot of icons for the items. I followed a pattern where everything is flat with different white and grayscales. Also, the items are differentiated by their abbreviation, which is basically a chemical formula. I know this is not 100% accurate. For example, coal is represented by C, which means carbon, but I think that's fine. If you have any better solution for this, let me know in the comments. With one of the newly created icons, I added a new item to the game, the 3D printer. The 3D printer is a building that is something like a crafting station or a workbench for the player. After I had the idea for the building, I went into Paint and designed the concept art for the 3D printer and the UI. The printer is powered by the built-in solar panel on top, so the building doesn't require any power to work. In addition, you can craft nearly any craftable early game item with the printer. Also, the printer has no option to be filled, started or output automatically, so the building requires the player to start the crafting process manually. To make it easier for the player to place the selected item, I added a preview mode. In preview mode, the building is rendered blue, slightly transparent and has a holographic animation at the position the player is currently aiming at. And you can't believe me, it was a hell lot of work to get this shader up and running correctly. I had no idea before this how I could properly do something like that with shaders. And I also had a lot of issues while trying to implement this. For example, the top faces flickered at the beginning every time one of the holographic stripes passed them. I fixed this by using a different material without animation on the top faces. Also, on transparent materials it is important to use the render priority correctly. If you do not, the inner faces will also be displayed, which looks pretty weird. After I was done finishing the preview, I finally added the building. With the goal of making the building feel more alive, I added some cute animations that are printing an item, which later will be the animation for crafting. A cool side fact is that I made this dynamic, so the path for different sized items is automatically calculated. This makes it way easier to add more items in recipes. As you might have noticed, there is a little screen on the side of the printer. In idle mode, the screen will just display the Exoid logo. Later, the screen will display the selected item and maybe the current printing progress, but I'm not sure about that point. When I had finished the printer building itself, I began to design the UI for the 3D printer. Here, I also made at first a sketch of the concept that looked like this. Now you can see the transition between the concept and the actual UI. On the left side you have the printing menu, which displays the recipe and the items inside the printer. The progress bar on the bottom displays the progress in crafting. The window, the recipe selector, in the middle of the screen is currently filled with empty slots. Later, all recipes will be available for selection there. The right window is basically a quick access inventory window to see which items are currently in your inventory. Also, you can use this to specify which items from your inventory should be used for the recipe. While implementing this, I noticed that some features that would help the user were missing. So I went back to the inventory, refactored basically everything regarding the inventory UI and also added 3 additional features. In Factorio, you can press the Q button when holding an item with the cursor. I thought this would be pretty helpful, so I just added it to the game. Now you can press Q while dragging an item and it will automatically reset to its original slot handler. Do you know the Minecraft mod mouse tweaks that enables you to transfer items from your inventory to a chest by simply holding left shift and left mouse button? Yeah, I also added a similar option. So you can click or hold your left mouse button to transfer items to other inventories. I think the name already explains the functionality. You can input a search query and everything that matches this search will be highlighted. I guess this is already the current state of the inventory system and the 3D printer. Before I forget, I also added an animation when dismantling buildings and other elements like trees. The particles automatically change based on the element that is currently breaking. I think this very little change helps a lot to make the game feel more alive. I hope you had fun watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, if there's a problem, there's a solution. Bye.